We are here with District 23 Democratic nominee for U.S. House of Representatives, John Lira, currently outside of the Uvalde High School. John was just inside the press conference where Greg Abbott was speaking. Partway through that press conference, we'll just start here. Governor candidate Beto O'Rourke was removed from the room. Do you want to just fill us in on the scene that happened in there, just to give viewers an idea of what went down?
Yeah, I mean, the press conference had reached a point to where, the government Abbott was, what can we do? This is a new challenge that we have to address. This is something that was completely unexpected once the state passed constitutional carry laws and let everybody have access to weapons wherever they want. So I think, like many folks in that auditorium, Beto finally got up. He went in, he charged the stage, and he stood right in front of them, and he said, "Now's not the time to do it."
Excuse me.
Sit down.
You're out of line and an embarrassment.
Sit down and don't play this stuff.
The next shooting is right now, and you are doing nothing.
No, you need to get out of here. This isn't the place to talk this over.
This is totally predictable when you...
Sir, you're out of line. Sir, you are out of line. Sir, you are out of line. Please leave this auditorium. I can't believe you're a sick son of a come to a deal like this to make a political issue.
The time to do it was 1.5 years ago in El Paso County. The time to do it was 3 years ago in Sutherland Springs. Now we want to think about how we can prevent it. So I think his points were dead on, and of course it made them all uncomfortable, but good. They deserve to be uncomfortable because right now they're skirting any Texas leaders are skirting any sort of responsibility for what happened today. They just want to blame it on mental health of the random individual.
Absolutely, and just curious, and for our viewers, the community here is definitely leaning conservative, especially in the town here in Uvalde. What is the response inside? I mean, obviously, from community members who were in at the press conference, just to give folks an idea. I'm sure it was a little bit mixed, but I'd be curious your insights on that.
Well, I think the folks that were fed up with the current situation and want to see change were a little bit louder and a little bit more present in that press conference. It's hard to defend anything like this, and of course they did not try to. Governor Abbott and Lieutenant Governor and the Speaker did not try to defend any of this. They pivoted away. We passed laws here, and we tried to pass laws that would strengthen the school. So I think that the people who want change and who are fed up with this, based on the questions from reporters, they want to see change. And this is kind of replicated on social media. This is replicated on national news. I mean, people are voicing their opinion. This spree of mass shootings that we're experiencing, comes after these very aggressive gun expansion laws. These laws that every American should have a gun and access to a gun anywhere they want. And I think we're seeing some of the results of some of that. So yes, traditionally Uvalde is a purple to pink county all around. I mean, they're country folk. They're honest, they're hardworking, and for the most part, they don't depend on government one way or the other to enrich their lives. They depend on themselves. And that's something that I can respect as a working class, somebody who came up in a working class family. But maybe it takes something like this to shock people to their conscience, to say what we're doing and how our approach to this is not working. Governor Greg Abbott said, we've poured billions of dollars into securing our schools. What's the result?
Right.
If something like this is not happening, so it's great that they're thinking about mental health after the fact, but this should have been before constitutional carry.
Right. And I think some of the criticism that folks are giving right now when mental health is like the number one thing being put forward is, yes, mental health is something that needs to be focused on. But at the same time, with this shooting here, AR-15 involved several of, I've got a whole list of them actually. I should have it out because it's basically 15 of the last major shootings in the United States that were mass shootings like this were folks using AR-15s. Do we think, for you in your campaign here, what kind of laws are you looking and would you like to see change moving forward? And what do you think about? Yeah, let's just stick with that. What are the policies that you'd like to push forward as far as gun laws going ahead?
Well, an easy one, and one that has bipartisan support, is a bipartisan background check act. I mean, right away, let's close some of these loopholes. Let's close the Charleston loophole. If people are mentally unfit, and I mean, we need to figure out that, you know, I have nothing wrong with responsible gun ownership. I am a responsible gun owner myself. The Marines taught me how to shoot, and there was times in my life where I did have to shoot at another individual in combat. You know, so I completely understand this. Some of the changes I would like to see is, you know, when you go into a school or a situation with a 30 mag round clip and a semi-automatic weapon, you have instant fire superiority over the law enforcement officers that could potentially confront you. That means they have a pistol that has maybe 12 to 15 rounds. You have a magazine that has 30. You can lay down rounds more rounds faster than any police that might be there to stop you. That is a problem for me. We want them, you know, and I'm not saying arm the police so that they can have equally. I'm saying weapons of mass destruction, I mean, not weapons of mass destruction, but assault weapons, they shouldn't be allowed in municipalities. If they want to keep them outside of city limits, outside of urban populations, outside where a father has to walk with their daughter and see people carrying a firearm or AR-15. Keep them out of political protests. It's not, you know, political protests are protected. But what if you see an armed militia on the other side of you? What if you show up on election day and see an armed militia outside of the polling station? You know, what if, you know, let's take it back to the Alamo. What if 200 and 300 armed Americans, armed Texans wanted to post up at the Alamo and say, come challenge us now? Just like what happened in 1836. So I don't need to see AR-15s around my children, around our urban places, the restaurants we go to. I don't want handguns to be used to settle arguments. I don't want my daughter, anyone in my family, victim of a stray bullet of an argument that happened down the street.
Right.
You know, so I think, again, keeping the weapons, like I said, the weapons themselves, I get it. You can own them responsibly. But there has to be a screening process. I would like to be a licensing process. I would like there to be a training process implemented again so that we know that at least the person who is walking around our communities with a weapon to cause harm on somebody are trained and know the rules.
For sure. So nationally right now, yesterday, every politician on both sides of the aisle seemed to seize the moment to make some sort of political statement right off the bat. I guess, what do you make of that? And then I'll have a follow-up question after that.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, it's of poor taste. You know, we came down here, and I wanted to make it abundantly clear up front. We didn't come down here to campaign. We didn't campaign to come down here and seek out votes, seek out donations. We came down here to show solidarity with the community in mourning, with the community that is suffering from a horrible atrocity. So yes, it's happened, right? Candidates going to be candidates, politicians going to be politicians. If they feel that they have blood on their hands, they're going to try to defend themselves. You know, I always think that you pay respects to the family, to the community, but the next day you strap up your boots and you go and make it a day of action, and you go and reflect the change that you want to see in society that can prevent the next one. So I think, you know, we mourned, we saw, we came, we hugged, we listened, we talked. But today is a day of action. Today is a day that we call out Tony Gonzalez for voting against two gun violence prevention measures that could have prevented something exactly like this, of a congressman who is proudly to boast about his NRA record and scorecard, of a congressman who may shed crocodile tears today, but I guarantee you he's going to be at the NRA conference this weekend asking for money. That's the type of congressman we don't need to represent this large, diverse, and vast district.
Absolutely. Now, looking at it from more of a national level here, in the Senate yesterday, Leader Chuck Schumer said that there are currently no plans for gun legislation during the next session. And he said essentially, this is paraphrasing a bit, but he essentially said if voters want to see gun laws passed, that they should vote in November. What is, how do you feel about that and the message that Democratic leadership is putting out in this way, that they're just kind of not going to do anything about it right now, but to vote in November, they'll be there to save the day?
Yeah, no, it's foolishness. You know, I mean, the country is feeling this right now. You know, the emotions are raw right now. Congressmen and state and senators nationally are making stances, prayers and thoughts and prayers, but now it's time for action. You know, Speaker Schumer or Leader Schumer needs to put a bill on the table. Get people an opportunity to say publicly and in the record where they stand on gun control, where they stand on keeping weapons out of the wrong hands, out of the hands of the people that are mentally unstable and people that are intend to do harm. You know, it seems like every time we get one of these mass shootings, there was always a sign, there was always people who knew, there was always a post, and nothing seems to ever occur out of it. And, you know, I mean, we have to act. We've got to be a little bit more serious in this day and age where mass shootings are becoming a weekly occurrence. Just like you mentioned, with accident, you know, go to a gun store, get the weapons, go to that location, do it right then and there, you know.
Right.
So what I'm thinking is have a vote. Put it on the floor. Let the senators vote how their conscience wants them to vote on that. And we'll see.
Yep.
We'll see who is an ally and really wants to solve this problem versus who's just playing lip service to it.
For sure. Is this something that, obviously you're running in the House, so it wouldn't necessarily affect you, but is this something that you would support overturning the filibuster to pass things like this? You know, the Democrats can say as much as they want, oh, vote, and we'll have 60 votes in the Senate in November. Like that, there's no math anywhere that that's ever going to happen, that they're going to get 60 votes. The only way to really get something done in the next 2 to maybe longer years is to overturn the filibuster. I'm curious where you are on that.
Yeah. You know, I would if I was a member of Congress and I did have an opportunity to have an opinion, and I do have an opinion,
Right.
I would essentially say, you know, I think the filibuster needs to be reformed, revised, updated. It kind of scares me to say scrap it completely, because here's the reason why. We saw what happened when Democrats under Speaker Harry Reid did away with the Supreme Court authorization to need a 60 vote threshold.
Right.
Pass it off a simple majority, get judges in. Well, we saw what the Republicans did with that. They loaded the courts, I think, confirming over 150 judges, Republican conservative judges, to the court. So it has an opportunity to backfire because, yes, it can work in Democrats' advantage right now while they have the House and they have a slim margin in the Senate and the presidency. But that can change very quickly, and now there will be no guardrails whatsoever for them to do whatever measures that they want. So I tread very lightly on that. Do I feel like it needs to be updated? Absolutely. Is it serving a purpose? It's preventing more legislation than it is causing bipartisan support for legislation.
Gotcha, right. I think a lot of people see that and they're like, they can't see anything passing right now, basically. It's like where everyone is so against each other and gridlocked that it's a tricky one. So I appreciate the answer there.
No, we've seen it before, right? President Obama had to deal with the worst of Republican blockading, you know? And, you know, let's hope that this goes all right, that the Democrats are able to secure and keep the House, and there's very slim margin in the Senate, you know, and it's a 50-50, I think, on both right now.
Right.
So there's no security in that. So again, you know, we might have to be, and Democrats might have to be an opposition party and not a governing party in the next 2 years. But still, we want to support President Biden and some of his measures because we know that it puts us on a path towards prosperity, gets us fully out of recovery, and the heart behind it. The heart behind it is to unite us and to care and strengthen and support our families.
Gotcha. You mentioned President Biden. Do you think he should be doing more? I mean, obviously he had a powerful speech yesterday, but a speech is just a speech. Should he be, using the bully pulpit of the presidency to be leaning into, members of the Senate like Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, who are kind of constantly blocking things? Obviously he can only do so much, but it seems like he can be using his power a lot more effectively there. Curious where you are on that, and then we'll kind of go back to a couple things locally, and then we can wrap things up for you.
Yes. Yes, use the power of the bully pulpit. Yes, use your status as Senator Emeritus. Yes, use all these years, 40 years of the arguments and the debates and the policies and everything that he's seen in his vast experience in public service. Leverage every single ounce of that to get something done. He's not new. Trump had no idea what was going on in the Senate. He probably still has no idea what happened in the Senate during his term, but President Biden knows this. He's been part of the argument since he's been in over 30 years that he was in, So absolutely shine a light on this. If you can't shine a light on gun violence in America, taking innocent Americans' lives in communities and churches and grocery stores and in schools, when are you going to use the bully pulpit? Absolutely. Lean in on them. Be fierce. Be strong. He talks about backbone. And I commend him. He does give the speech. He does travel to the locations. He did that more than President Trump ever did. And if he did, President Trump did it, it was a week, maybe 2 weeks later.
Right.
President Biden is up on it. He responds, and I appreciate his words, but now he's got to lean into the actions.
Absolutely. Now, bringing it back locally, if you want to just give our viewers a little bit of the insight about what the community here is like, and other, even surrounding communities here, and how you think they're going to come together during this time, and even you can shine some light onto some of the actions that have already been taking place.
Yeah, well, we've been to Uvalde a couple of times on our campaign trail, and 20, 30 other small communities that are in this large district. And I can tell you that schools and school districts are the hearts of the community. These are usually the biggest employers. Everybody in the community had the same third grade teacher, had the same math teacher coming up. In most cases, the elected school board members are the de facto government of the whole town, city or town or county. So school districts are really at the heart of all of this. So I could just imagine. I mean, they took a serious punch to the heart of their community. But just as the school district and their children have united them, they will come back. I mean, they've got to process this. They've got to process how one of their own can do this to their own. And that's the $1 million question. That's what's going to take time. And it's not for us to understand. What we can do is try to make positive change out of this, lessons learned out of this, unity out of this, policies that make sense and can potentially prevent this in the future. But I know communities like this, it is very impactful. They are small, they are close. Usually when one person in the community is having an issue, like say for example in the city of Moore, there's one woman down there who's battling cancer. And Republican, Democrat, left, right, doesn't matter. The community is surrounding her and supporting her. Out here, it's not about left or right. It's about who's up or down. And they want everybody to be up in these small communities. So it will take some time. The processing has to occur, the mourning has to occur. But what I can do is I've experienced tons of support, letters of opinion from folks from social media, from here locally in district, from all across the country. I want to be a channel of their voice. I want to be the change that they want to be seen in our schools, in our state, and in our nation. So I've promised them that I will do that.
Absolutely. And thank you very much for your time. Where can folks find more about your campaign?
Yeah, please visit liraforcongress.com on any social media you can think of, or at liraforcongress.com. Very easy. This district, I said, is Texas's biggest congressional district. What happens here has not only importance for Texas, but for the entire country. With our 800 miles of Texas-Mexico border, we've got Jeff Bezos and Blue Origin. We're launching people into space in our district. We have the Permian Basin that has the world's second largest supply of oil. So what happens in Texas 23 impacts our nation and impacts the globe in many ways. So we want to make sure that we have a representative that truly has the best interests of our people in the floor of the House chamber.
Thanks for watching, and make sure to tune in to Status Coup's daily live stream Monday through Thursday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time and Fridays at 4 o'clock Eastern Time.